Bob Ganzak, and this is Motivation U, the podcast. Hello, my name is Bob Ganzak, and this is Motivation U, the podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's podcast room. And hello, Coach. We've got some artifacts in here today, which is kind of cool. I haven't been in here I've done a couple of remote podcasts recently because I've been on the road so much. And we had to even do a best of podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I also see that we have the road sign here with us. So that is absolutely awesome. A little bit about what's going on in the Dale Carnegie world. We just finished week 6 in Gainesville, had week 1 in Lake City last night. We have some programs coming up in Jacksonville soon. If you would like to get involved with those, please just go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Find courses. Go ahead and find something there for you. You can even pick on the little menu on the left. You can grab some live online courses or workshops or seminars and just start changing your world by filling yourself with more information and maybe different ways of doing things. If you've ever wanted to be a stronger communicator, go find yourself a program that'll help you do that. Why wait? Why settle for mediocrity your whole life? Go ahead and do something different. And that's kind of what we talk about. My guest today, somebody from day one. This gentleman is one of those individuals that just went through week 6 in Gainesville. Yes. But from day one, the smile, the energy, the enthusiasm, the desire to get better, it's just been there. Joel Romelus.
Yes.
Thank you, Joel, for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor. One of my favorite topics is leadership, so I'm excited to chop it up with you.
Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. Now, I notice, we talk about names. So you like Joel.
Yes.
So, and so does Joel Matos in our class.
Yes, he does.
His comes maybe a little bit from his ethnic background because of the Hispanic side. I think he kind of pulls some of that in. But, you look at it different, Joel, and I sometimes make a mistake, as I did earlier here today. But the Romulus, the E, I always want to put a U in there.
Yes.
Because there's a city outside of Detroit called Romulus.
Yes.
But I note that some individuals, when they call you by the name, they replace the E with a U and they put that in there,
Yes.
What is the history of the Romulus name?
Yeah, no, definitely. So Joel comes from, ethnically, I think, Cuba. And so for me, we come from a Haitian background, and so that's very French influence, and so that's where you get Joel, is how you would say it. And so in English, it translates kind of Joel instead of Joe. But the Romulus background, I haven't done much on our family history. I know my father migrated here to the States from Port-au-Prince, and his father's name was Romulus, and so we just inherited. I don't know how far it goes back, but my father, that was his surname, and that's our name.
And you say Romulus.
I say Romulus.
Even though it's an E.
Yeah, even though it's an E, I think that's just how I was taught to pronounce it. My
that is
father
cool.
taught us, and I have 4 siblings, and that's kind of how we all say it, and so it's Joel Romulus.
So do you ever get back to Port-au-Prince, or have you been there?
Yes. Well, my wife and I would lead mission trips 4 times a year. In 2019, 2018, then we had the pandemic. And with the pandemic, the president was assassinated in Haiti, political unrest. So I haven't been back since 2020. January 2020 was the last time I've been back. But I love Haiti. I love serving there. I love the people. And I hope to get back there soon.
I don't know if when we went many years ago, way before you were born, I went on a cruise, and I don't remember what ports we went to. I remember Puerto Plata, but on the Dominican side. But I don't remember what we did after that, or if we just cut out to go to some of the outer places. But it was just interesting that that whole. I fell in love with that whole part of the world when I was a little kid.
Yes.
I absolutely. I don't know if it was the stories that we told. I don't know if it was my imagination or a teacher put that into my head, but yeah, I just absolutely love that part of the world.
Yes.
The whole Caribbean, that's it's an amazing place, and just now we can get there so easily.
Yes.
When I was a child, it was more of a almost like a myth, and because we didn't travel as easy. I mean, airfare and everything else was not that simple.
Yes.
And cruise ships, some of the things that they called cruise ships were, Noah was he was the captain on that one.
Yes.
Either that or who was the guy in Pirates of the Caribbean,
Oh,
Jack.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think you had one of those two things that were going on in your life at that time. So tell me about, where did life begin for you?
Yeah. So life, I think I have to start with my parents. As I shared with you, my parents were immigrants. They came here in the early 80s. My mother came here on a boat seeking asylum during some of the political unrest.
From Haiti?
From Haiti.
Okay.
Yep. And so she left everything at 18 years old for a dream. She was willing to sacrifice everything. She came here on a boat. Many of her friends and family members who were on that boat passed away, and they were on there for weeks.
Oh, my.
Just thinking through just the stories of just people.
So she was a young
Yeah.
girl at that time.
Yep.
Wow.
18 years old. And she came here, made it, and forged a life for herself. Met my dad here. He also immigrated, but by plane. He was part of more of the wealthier middle class family in Haiti, and so he was able to come by plane. They met here, had my older sister, older brother, and then me. I'm the third child, and then I have a younger sister. And they were very people of faith. I mean, I think my mother, my father really instilled faith in us. They instilled a character, principle, morals, and that's kind of how I was raised. That was my upbringing. And I dove into sports, and that became another foundational thing for me of just building character, perseverance, resilience, and really succeeded. Was a great athlete, played basketball, ran track, played football, was a top running back coming out of Miami-Dade. It's the mecca of high school football.
Wow. Yep.
And was a top running back coming out, and unfortunately ended up suffering some injuries. Had an opportunity to go and play some Division I ball, but ended up suffering some concussions, lost my memory for months at a time, and had to regain that and learn that. But through it all, my faith has been the thing that has anchored me, and that has been passed down from my parents. But then it became my own at some point. I would say probably around 15, 16, my faith became my own. It's been a guiding principle and a guiding force in my life.
So you grew up in Miami.
Yep.
Went to Dade. What year did you graduate from high school?
Yeah, I graduated 2010.
2010.
Yeah, I went to Miami Edison for a year, and then I transferred and went to Miami Springs. That's where I graduated.
Okay.
That's my alma mater.
Wow. That's who were some of the other players that you competed with on the gridiron back then?
Yeah. So T.Y. Hilton was my teammate. He played for the Coast for a long time, then got picked up by Dallas. Rakeem Cato, Tommy Schuler, Devontae Freeman, Lamar Miller, Denzel Perryman, just to name a few.
I love football, right? I absolutely love college football, and
Yeah.
we need the entire Miami area to come
Yes,
back.
yes. Absolutely.
Gator fan here, yet football's better when the Hurricanes are hated,
Yeah,
and good.
Yes,
It
yes.
just, there's just a, when Florida State, and Miami are clicking on all cylinders,
Yes.
man, that is just so much fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I can remember, I don't know when it was. It was, you probably can remember the time. It was probably 2003 or 4, someplace in there. Brock Berlin had left Florida and gone to Miami to play quarterback for Miami.
Yep.
And I went to the Florida-Miami game in the Orange Bowl.
Wow.
And we were winning. And I will admit that at the end of the game, I was glad Miami came back. Because those of us wearing orange and blue, we're not very, people weren't like, hey, how you doing? That was, and I knew I had a long walk to my car. But it was kind of fun. I miss that.
Yes, yes.
We need to have that come back. So, where's your allegiance? Do you go to your hometown and pull for the Hurricanes, or now you live up here? Is it a Gator world? I'm putting you on the spot.
I hope my brother's not watching this. He calls me a traitor. Right? So we grew up diehard Miami fans. I was born in the early '90s, and so I got to saw as a kid the 2000s.
Oh, whoa.
Willis McGahee.
Yeah.
And some of the greats. Ray Lewis, who played for Miami, and so I grew up a diehard Miami Hurricane fan. And then when I moved up here, got involved with the things I'm doing currently with the team, and so I would say I'm a Gator. If the Gators are playing I'm rooting for the Gators.
Okay.
But if they're not playing each other,
Pull for both of them.
I'm pulling for both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, exactly.
I do the same thing. I mean,
Yes.
I pull for, Miami. I pull for Florida State. I pull for Florida. I hope my wife's not watching.
I don't know about Florida State.
I struggle with Georgia. Even though everybody in my family is a Georgia fan.
Oh, man.
That one's a tough one for me. I'll admit that. Yeah, really tough. But the Florida schools. I mean, I grew up in Michigan, but I loved Florida. When the first time I came here, I was, I think 5 or 6, and then we came every single year through my 18th birthday, and then came back after that with the University of Detroit baseball team, and just Florida became part of my life. It was just always on my mind, and I absolutely loved the 3 schools. You could kind of pull for all of them. I always pulled Florida first. Florida always, whatever they were playing, but I pulled for all of them.
Yes.
If Florida wasn't in the national championship picture, and wide right or wide left or whatever the games between Miami and Florida State were, I was pulling for them.
Yes.
It was, and whoever came out of that bloodbath on top, I wanted them to keep going.
Absolutely.
So it was always kind of an interesting thing. What were some of the leadership instincts that your parents built into you as a young child?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my mother is probably one of my great heroes. And I think one of the things she really instilled is perseverance, consistency, creativity, and resourcefulness. We didn't have a lot growing up, but she would always say, create. And in the Haitian Creole, you say créer. Create something, create what you have. And so if you don't have a lot of food, hey, make a sugar sandwich. And so take a loaf of bread and put sugar. If you ran out of peanut butter or you ran out of jelly, there's no ham and cheese.
Do the best, right?
Do the best with what you have.
Yeah.
And that was a key principle. And just seeing her, I mean, she worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, and she persevered. She rarely complained. She just had this resilience, this grit about her. And then my father he was very charismatic, very great with people. I always remember I would get frustrated growing up because we would go to the grocery store and he's starting a conversation with everyone. I'm like, can we get home? I got something to do. I want to watch my cartoons. And he stopped and talked to everyone and just really treated everyone with respect. And I remember him teaching me that. He said, Joel, no matter who the person is, their faith, their religion, their background, you treat everyone with the utmost respect. Those are some things that stood with me.
That's neat. That's neat. I'll give you a fist pump on that mom thing. My mom was my hero too. Just taught me so many things. I only saw my mom get upset once, and that was at me. The one time that she ever did. But she was so calm. She just had this. My dad was more of a meteoric type of emotional changes.
Yeah.
Never saw him way down. But, he would be up and down, angry, whereas my mom was just always chill.
Yeah.
And it's the odd thing is, that's the Irish side of us. My mom was 100% Irish, and, she never drank, but she was 100% Irish, and my dad, had the Polish and Lithuanian side of him, but you would think those were reversed, but not the way it was. But that's always interesting. So when you got to start playing sports, when you got into high school and middle school and high school and you start playing sports, what were the things that you took away from your coaches as far as leadership was? How did you start shifting your mindset from what you were taught from your parents to now all of a sudden, because that's a faith-based and that's, heritage-based.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden you're going into this,
Yes.
athletic-based. What were some of the things you drew from that in leadership?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most critical points of my life. My coaches, in many ways, were father figures to me. My dad left when I was 12, had a nasty divorce with my mom. And my coaches really instilled character. It's your character that matters. It's not what you say, it's what you do that matters. And in middle school, I played basketball. Mark Wilder was my middle school coach. We were really good in Miami-Dade County as a middle school basketball club. And we would say this saying at the end of every single practice. And he would ask us, what does it take? We would respond and say determination. He would ask us again, what does it take? We would respond and say determination. And he would say together, and collectively, we would say it takes discipline and determination to be a champion. Life is short, therefore every second counts. This is why we go hard. Children's Let's Do It, 1, 2, 3, Children Pride. And it's been so many years, 16, 17 years.
Wow.
But I know that like the back of my hand. I mean, it's woven into the fabric of my DNA, that discipline, determination, life is short, live with a sense of urgency, make the most of every opportunity, character. It's a character of a man that matters, and he really called out leader in me. I was the team captain, and he would say, Joel, you cannot ask the team to do something you're not willing to do. And so if you're going to say, hey, we need to work hard, you need to stay after practice and show that by example. And so that was a really pivotal moment for me, and I think it's impacted my leadership to this day.
Wow. Who was that coach?
Coach Mark Wilder.
Mark Wilder.
Mark Wilder.
Did you just play one season for him, or?
No, I played my 6th grade all the way through my 8th grade.
Wow.
Played basketball for him. We won the county championship twice. And that's another key thing. That was a moment for me in my adolescent years where I saw hard work can lead to success.
Paying off, right?
Because we would he would have us run miles, and I'm like, what is this all about? And then we'd get in around April or May, and we won the county championship. And I was like, wow. If I work hard at something, I can accomplish it.
Your journey is so incredible, and later on in the show, we'll talk about where you're going now, which is just phenomenal. I look back, my life, my parents didn't really instill leadership qualities in me. I mean, that my dad was an entrepreneur, but he was, you know, he just worked a job for himself all the time and just stuck to it. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until all of us were out of the house, and then she would go to work with my dad, you know, at his company. But my coaches changed my life. And when I was first given an opportunity to, you know, lead other people, to supervise or manage other people, I fell back on my, you know, my coaches. And I think sometimes I didn't know. I mean, I had a sales staff that had 7 women and 1 gentleman on it, but I still ran it like a football team, you know. And when you were talking about, you know, the determination thing, I wrote something back there that I shared with our team. We went through in Michigan in the 1970s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. We had DDT. It was a spray that they put on to kill, you know, some weeds or something, and it got into the cattle and to the water, and people were dying from it and everything else. So I took that DDT and dedication, discipline, and tenacity. No matter what you do in your life, if you attack it, dedicate yourself to what needs to be done, discipline yourself to do the things that are necessary, then every one of those tasks, just go at it with, you know, that tenacity that is second to none. You'll succeed. And, you know, at first, my sales staff was like, "What the heck are you talking about, dude? You know, you are like really weird." Yet when we started breaking it down and putting it into, you know, sales calls or answering, you know, we could apply it to everything we did. And I should have wrote a book about it back then, but I didn't, you know. But it's funny how we captured that from sports, and then we were able to carry it on to our life. What other things did you pick up from your athletic career that you still move on and forward with?
Yeah, I would probably also add adversity is a good thing.
Ah, yes.
I think oftentimes one of the things I learned about sports is that it's an environment where you're embracing pain for a greater purpose. In order for you to play sports, you're going to go through training, you're going to go through workouts, you're going to go through rehab. You are literally intentionally embracing pain with the understanding that it will produce a greater purpose. And that has been something that has stayed with me because life will bring pain. But just like in sports, the same way when you're running and your legs are burning and you're tired and you realize, hey, 4th down, my team needs a play. Coach calls, you know, slot right, 32 dive, and I'm the running back. I'm going to have the legs to go and make that play because of the pain that I embraced and allowed to transform me to meet the moment. And so in life, you know, I experienced some hardship. I experienced some pain, some setbacks. But through sports, I learned to embrace those with the understanding that it will lead to a greater purpose.
The failure too. You know, I look at, you know, take the quarterback position in the NFL. Some quarterbacks that fail never make it back. You know, and then some quarterbacks, you know, springboard off of failure. I think Tom Brady. I mean, we all talk about him because of his, you know, 7 rings and everything else. But when he would lose, like when he lost to Eli twice, I mean, those were jump on a trampoline, bounce back type of moments. You know, he was going to go work harder so that didn't happen again. Whereas some people, that failure crushes them. How do we get past that? How do we help people get past that where failure crushes them?
Yeah, I feel like honestly you can't allow the failure to define you. And for me, it goes back to who do you believe you are as a person, right? Do you believe that this moment is your end-all be-all? Because if it is, then when the failure does happen, it will crush you. Because your identity is so wrapped up in what others think and in whatever it is you're doing. But I believe if your identity is outside of that, you can take the failure, you can take the criticism, and you can move forward seeking to grow and get better. And I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what do you think about yourself and who you believe you are. And if you know that, hey, I am someone, I have purpose, I'm created for something bigger than myself, then you can handle criticism, you can handle failure. You can say like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan or all LeBron, you look at, him losing in '09 to Dallas and the way he did it in Miami, and then him coming back and having the run that he's had, you can say, hey, I'm bigger than this and I'm going to move forward.
Yeah, it's almost like the failure defined them in a positive way, where they turn the, and not everybody, like you were telling me about your little boy, not every child gets to grow up in a family with a dad like you and a mother like your son has. How do we convince young people that are 16, 17, 18, 19 that don't have sports in their background and they don't have a family connection? How do we find them, help them, and what do we tell them as they move forward so that they can change their lives for themselves?
More specifically, can you elaborate a little bit more?
So, you have a youngster that didn't grow up in a family where they were taught these things from birth.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, they walk out of high school, they make it out of high school. In some cases, they make it out of high school. And they're 18, 19 years old. If they came to me, I know what I would say to them,
Yes.
But how do we help them find that leadership if the starting point is age 19 and they don't have 18 years of you
Yes.
as their dad
Yes.
or mentor or your dad or my dad, as the person that helped them get to this point? How do you start them from that age?
Yeah. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy thing. But my first thing I would share with them is I want you to reflect back on your life. And I want to train you to be able to see that there were deposits. Because I believe in all of our lives, there are moments of invaluable lessons and things that are gold for us to take on our journey. The question is, are we training our minds and our eyes to see it? And if we don't train our minds and eyes to see it, we won't see it in the future.
Yep.
So I would say to them, hey, I want you to reflect back on your life. There's things maybe you've missed, and see those moments. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a substitute teacher, maybe it was a neighbor. I mean, we are surrounded with goodness.
Wonderful people.
The world is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of stuff.
But our whole news world focuses on the negative.
Exactly. Absolutely.
There's more people doing good things out there than there is
Yes.
people, shooting guns and doing that.
Yes.
But you would think that, we're in quote unquote war-torn Bosnia,
Yes.
in the middle of the height of that revolution back then.
Yes.
We're not.
We're not. I mean, I have so much hope for our generation. I have so much hope for the world because I see goodness all the time. And so I would try to train them to be able to look back on their lives and see that goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving forward, help them to maximize those opportunities, to seize the moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to be able to take advantage of the things that are good when they present themselves to them.
And it's not just people that youngsters that grew up in that environment. It's youngsters that grew up in an environment of excess too.
Yes.
That and when you were talking about they didn't focus on certain things, they rebelled against the things that their parents did to become successful, or they know the transparent side of their parents. The public side is this,
Yes.
and they see what's underneath.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of challenges, and like when you were a youngster, I mean, social media wasn't wasn't something that was
MySpace.
and it's not something that was like prevalent in everybody's lives.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, after the break, I want to get into that, but now it's like crazy,
Yes.
just absolutely
Yes.
crazy. We're going to take a break. Have a couple of ads to run and talk about the Meldons and Celebration Point and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill here where we get to do the show from. We'll be right back after this. This is Motivation U, the podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Welcome back to Motivation U, the podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room. My guest today, Joel Romelus. If you didn't catch the first half of this, you got to go back and watch what this man has to say. Absolutely incredible things. So, Joel, you gave a talk the other night in class about... it was about stress, but it was about a group of young people that you were taking for a weekend away.
Yeah.
What is it, and I've held this back until now, what is it that you do, and how did you get involved in that?
Yeah. So I founded Made for More, a nonprofit organization that serves youth from East Gainesville, in addition to serving as a spiritual resource to athletes and coaches at the University of Florida. Founded in 2020, crazy time to launch a nonprofit, to say the least. You know, with all of the economic instability and insecurity, but really felt on my heart to do something, to step out and to take a risk. I was a pastor at the time at Greenhouse Church, was doing that for 8 years, and serving as the chaplain for 6 or 7 years at the time. And really what gripped my heart was what I received in my childhood. I grew up inner city Miami, parents were Haitian immigrants, as I shared earlier, and I was heading down the wrong path. I grew up, guys in my neighborhood were doing all kind of crazy things, and there was a man, Evan Allen. He stepped into my life. He was a middle school teacher, had his master's degree from FAMU, could have gone and taught anywhere. He chose to go into the roughest school in the inner city, Horace Mann Middle School. And he saw me, saw hope in me, saw purpose in me, helped develop my character, helped to build me and give me life skills, taught me financial literacy. I am the man that I am today because of him. And as I was going in and out of the church in that time of 2020, something just struck me. You know, this is always going to be here, but you can have an opportunity to step out and to go where the need is. And that's what caused me to launch Made for More. I founded it along with 10 other board of directors, and we've been rocking ever since.
Wow, wow. That is amazing. What are some of the activities that you do, and how many young people are impacted by your work?
Yeah, so currently we have 60 young people that are enrolled. 60, there's probably half of those that are high schoolers, and then we have middle schoolers who enrolled as well. We meet every Thursday. We have about an hour and 15 sessions, so we have lunch. Then we'll go through one of our principles. So we have some principles in the curriculum that we take them through. And then if we're not going through a principle that day, we'll have a guest speaker. So it might be a UF athlete. It's someone in the community that exemplifies or embodies the principles that we're trying to instill in these young people. And then we'll do some community service, and we'll take them on a trip and just expose them to different things. We're planning to take them here to Spurrier's to do an etiquette dinner. They'll dress up.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And just teach them, you know, how to
where the fork goes in there.
Exactly. All of that, you know, a lot of us didn't learn.
Where do I put my napkin? Yeah.
Yes.
I have to go to the bathroom. Where does the napkin go? Put it over the back of your chair, you know.
Exactly. So, yeah, but we really just try to enrich their lives and prepare them for the real world, prepare them to be men of courage, men of integrity, men of honesty, men of grace.
And to impact their community in a positive way. And if we do that, in what we were talking about earlier, if we can do that more, we can impact more people by, you know, these little tentacles that are going out there. I have a talk I used to give, which I always referred to as FRESH. It was fly fishing, religion, education, success, and humanity. Made up the word FRESH. Yeah. And I found a lot of, being Catholic, growing up Catholic, I found a lot of similarities between fly fishing and religion.
Yes.
You know, we fly fished for bass, so we were top water fishing. Had no clue what was going on underneath,
yes.
right? But it was the majestic learning how to fly fish that made it so much fun.
Yes.
And that if I didn't catch anything or not, I mean, I was still having a great time. I was peaceful, it was quiet, it was calm part of the evening, and you which I found a lot like religion, like praying. You know, I mean, if everything you prayed for came true, we would all be praying for billions of dollars, you know, right? But it doesn't, and not every cast catches a fish.
Yes.
But if you embrace the act, and you find the joy in the act of the fly fishing or the praying, whatever the results are a bonus.
Yes.
You know, so many of us go fishing to catch something, and we pray for something instead of embracing ourselves in the act.
Yes.
And then it went on to education and success and humanity. And humanity is the side that I was mentioning when you said that is, if they say that we, you know, touch 10 people a day, if we can touch them in a positive way and they touch 10 people and they touch 10 people, just think what we can do if we only focused on helping people grow and then encourage them to help people grow, taught them how to help them grow.
Yes.
Man, we could spread this out and eliminate a lot of the challenges we have. So, anyways, you know, that's just that was just something, you know, from the past that bounced back up to me. You know, you were talking about the people inside the young people inside East Gainesville, and that gentleman decided to stay there that influenced your life in Miami.
Yes.
I wrote down Lou Holtz, 1992. I had the opportunity to travel with the Notre Dame football team in 1992 to L.A.
Wow.
USC Notre Dame game, and the riots were going on in L.A.
Yes.
There was a young man from that part. Gosh, I think he was number 20 on Notre Dame, and I can't remember his last name. But we were in the caravan driving to the game from our hotel. We stayed down at one of the swanky places that the whole team and we all did along the water, and then we were driving up to the Coliseum. But Holtz took us on a detour through the riot-torn parts of the city because he wanted to show the rest of the players where their teammate grew up.
That's powerful.
And we're in the back. I'm with a Michigan State trooper and the chief of police of my hometown and a high school football coach. The four of us are in an SUV driving. And like the state trooper and the chief of police are in the front seat, and they're like, me and the coach are in the back not even paying attention to what's going on. They go, where is he taking us? And I'm like, if you two guys are scared, what am I doing, Yes. But we had motorcycle police cars, motorcycles right behind us, so but he took us right up and down the streets. We went into neighborhoods. Here is, like 4 big buses going down the street, and it's the Notre Dame football team. But he won. Carter was his last name. Defensive back for Notre Dame in, like, if you look it up, 1992, boom. But he grew up in that area, and Lou Holtz wanted his team to experience what their teammate did. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I think that's such a powerful example of great leadership. And I say that because I think when you boil leadership down, this is my opinion, when you boil leadership down to its lowest denominator, what exactly is it? It's love and trust. It's people don't care how much you know until they know that you care. And people will run through a brick wall for you. I mean, I'm around football now, and I see it all the time. I get to study leadership from head coaches up close. People will run through a brick wall for you if they know that you care for them.
Yep.
And that is an example of a coach going out of their way while a game is needing to be played to let the team know we care for number 20. Robert, you said?
Carter was his last name. I don't remember his first name. It's just like amazing to me when I think back on that. You say leadership. Lou Holtz, if somebody wants to, a couple of things that he did. He had a bad experience at a hotel. I don't know if it was in Milwaukee or someplace about that, but there was a huge argument. And he said, I'm not going to argue with you. He said, but I'm going to tell you that every speech I give, I'm going to start with how bad your hotel is. I thought that was a good thing, and Lou Holtz spoke. But a friend of ours was the bodyguard for the Notre Dame coaches from Ara Parseghian through Lou Holtz. And he had been a South Bend police officer, and then he became a Notre Dame police officer, and then he actually bought some McDonald's and owned enough number of McDonald's. One of his best friends was Muhammad Ali. He was just an awesome guy, and we were part of him. But let me tell you what Lou Holtz did. Notre Dame forced Lou Holtz out of Notre Dame. That's my opinion. I don't have any facts on it. That's what I've been told. One of the first things he had to do was let Paul, our friend, go. He also had to let, I think, his secretary go. They kind of forced him to do that, which they knew that he would resign after that. Lou Holtz, a couple of years later, goes to coach South Carolina. All right? I get the chills every time I think of this. You want to talk about leadership. My friend Paul's retired. His health is going down a little bit. He's at home in Benton Harbor, Michigan. He gets a call from Lou Holtz. And he says, Paul, what are you doing this date? He goes, nothing. He said, will you lead me on the field for my first game at South Carolina? And he flew Paul and his wife up to Columbia, South Carolina. And Paul ran out onto the field in front of Coach Holtz. Doesn't that give you the chills?
That's crazy.
What? what a leadership, thing. And I mean, up until his last day, I mean, Paul always, he always said that was just, one of the most meaningful things that ever happened in his life. But we talk about leadership, and it's those opportunities that you talked about earlier. We all see the potholes in the road. We don't see all the beautiful part of the road, too. So what do you foresee, Joel? I mean, you just started this program.
Yeah.
And so you're working with young men that are in a certain age, but this is a program that's going to go on for years. What do you foresee those young men doing to help support the program 10 years from now?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the vision, is to help these young men know their worth, live with purpose, and invest back in their communities. That is our vision. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And I share it with them all the time. They say, hey, thank you, Mr. Joel. And, we were able to go on a trip and go watch an Orlando Magic game. And we're able to go to Busch Gardens and just have an amazing time. And they're saying, thank you. I said, hey, no. I want you one day, this feeling that you feel? This awesome feeling that someone took time out of their day to invest in you? One day you are going to go and find your purpose. You're going to give yourself to it. It's going to bring, financial stability and provision, and I want you to come back and invest that into. And like you said, Bob, to me, that's changing the world.
Yeah.
Just one person. I got overwhelmed. I mean, there was so much negativity in 2020, so much going on, and I just like, what can I do to make a difference? And for me, if I can get a hold of 60 young men that will in turn invest themselves in others, the ripple effects, it's far-reaching. It's beyond what I can see. And I can go, when my time comes to leave this earth, I can know that I've lived my purpose, I've invested my life in something that will continue beyond me.
You talk about the pandemic. I have a picture in my photo roll of a day, and I think I even wrote in there and posted it online, the way that I'm doing the pandemic, and it actually had a cigar and sitting outside. There's nobody else outside. I mean, there's no traffic on I-75. I live less than a half mile from I-75. You can hear it all. There's no traffic. There's no planes in the sky. Nobody's flying from Moody Air Force Base doing test flights or anything that we usually see. There's absolutely zero noise. There's nobody cutting anybody's lawn. None of that is going on. It is just silence. And I sat there with my computer on my lap, and I just wrote whatever thoughts were on my mind, whatever was there. And sometimes that is like cleansing, And for you to be able to focus on those young men during that time, those young kids, to help them, that must have, wow, what a, how do people support your program? How do they find, and how do you get most of your donations?
Yeah, so a lot of it is through our fundraising gala. We do one every January. We just had Danny Warfel come out and share. And so we do through our gala, we get funds there. We seek to get monthly support. Most nonprofits, that's how you sustain or your impact, is through monthly support. You're able to project your programming, how you can continue to grow, other programs you can add. And we have a website, www.madeformoreinspire.org. There you can get more information about our vision, our mission, our programs. We have our annual reports on there, our board members. But we're excited. We're looking forward to what's to come, and just being able to impact these young men and let them know that they're seen, they're loved, and most importantly, they're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes they feel like they're neglected, but there's a group of people and business leaders, and University Realty, and a whole bunch of other companies that have invested to let these young men know, we see you, we hear you, and we love you. And I think that will change their lives.
Jared, off camera here, is there a way that you can put his website in the notes there for that? Cool. And where people can go to find out how to donate and things, let's put that in there. Tell me about, and I don't know the answer to this, usually, good attorney, I'm not an attorney, good attorneys say is you never ask a question you don't know the answer to, right? But is Anthony Richardson from the east side of Gainesville, or?
From my knowledge, yes. See, he's originally childhood though was in East Gainesville.
Is that somebody that you can, I mean, his journey, if there's anybody that's been misaligned in his career, and I hope, not just being a Gator fan, but being a fan of athletes of all types, I think the young man can be a superstar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he has everybody in the media wants to do the stereotypical 50 years of the African American quarterback.
Yeah.
That is not Anthony Richardson. You know,
Yes.
this young man can throw the ball 70 yards with a flick of a wrist. I mean, if somebody can coach him and help him, he hasn't played that much football in his life.
He has not.
I would, whatever team drafts him, I'm a fan of that team.
Yes.
Yeah, my Lions, they draft at 6. My Jaguars, they already have Trevor Lawrence. We don't need him.
Yes, yes.
But, you know, I would have no problem with the Detroit Lions taking Anthony Richardson at number 6, because I think that guy's going to be a superstar.
Oh, yeah.
But how do you get, what would you say to him if you had an opportunity to talk to him about coming to help in your program?
Yeah, I think, you know, Anthony has, I've had a chance to know him personally just with my role as chaplain of the team. Man, he's a phenomenal young man. I mean, he is humble, he's teachable, he's coachable.
Hard worker.
He's a hard worker, and he cares for the community. He's already, I think very recently, someone might have shared with me, he was over at Howard Bishop, which is a middle school in the east side, after his, record-breaking NFL Combine day. The very first thing he does, or it seemed like, he was at Howard Bishop speaking to kids. A lot of the same kids that we work with and we have a heart for. And so he is someone that I know will give back, that I know would use his life and his platform for something bigger than himself, which to me, that's a part of leadership. It's
Right.
not about you.
Yep.
It's how can I use what I'm given to inspire others.
Yeah.
And I think, man, I'm rooting for him.
I
think
am too.
He's going to be a blessing to whatever team drafts him.
Yeah, I loved a couple of years ago, and again, we'll go back to social media. You know, social media has destroyed a lot of young people, and they tried to destroy, in my opinion, Anthony Richardson too. You know, he had some success, and you know, when you're 18, 19 years old, you have not, just because you're a great athlete, you haven't lived the world.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I'm naive at age 67 about a lot of things, you know, where my heart is in the right place, but I just don't know about it. And the whole AR-15 thing that he you know, was promoting, and then, you know, when he saw, you know, the negativity that was, people were, you know, he totally went away from it. I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
Some people never let him change that. To me, I looked at the way he handled that. I go, wow, the guy's not only a superstar athlete, he's a superstar person,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
But if we allow, and hey, we have a freedom of speech, you know, we can say anything we want. There's a lot of courageous people that sit behind typewriters and behind a keyboard and take shots at people. How do you prepare young people for that? Because a lot of young people, they don't have tablets and this and that, and they're not growing up with it, and all of a sudden they get it and they go, wow, you know, look what I can do. And again, like the road, only seeing the potholes, they tend to sometimes go to the people that are doing the negative things. How do you coach them in the social media area?
You know, it's the world we live in is a mean world. And I don't know if you can prepare someone. Like I said, I've been serving within UF football for 8 years, working with the team, and I see coaches and I see athletes, like you said, you know, have courageous people behind typewriters or Twitter fingers say very mean things. And I see it affects real people.
And it does.
Real families and real lives. And I know that we get entrenched with the Gators and, you know, we got to win SEC and all these different things. And so I feel like the way you endure that, because it's not going to go away, and I don't think there's anything you can do to prepare for it per se, but to have positive people in your life speaking words of hope, reminding you who you are, reminding you why you do it, because it's going to get to you. If you can try to hide, you can try to get off social media, and it's going to get to you. But you need to have the right people. And so that's one of the things I tell players that I get to mentor and pour into is who is around you. You know, there's those big, tall trees out in California, and they grow 90 feet tall. But the way they're able to withstand the storms and all that comes is that their roots are not as deep. Their roots are interlocked.
Right. They protect each other.
They protect each other. And that's one of the messages I give the guys is just, who are you interlocked with? And are they bringing hope and inspiration and reminding you who you are? Because the world's going to try to define you how they feel. And the way you weather that is through knowing who you are.
And that world doesn't define you. You know, they don't control you.
Yes.
The only thing they control are themselves, and they're not doing a very good job of it.
Exactly.
And the only one you control is yourself. And you know, that you always have total control over.
Yes.
You know, your actions and your reactions and everything else. You know, I think back, again, you know, we're talking leadership, so, you know, not pointing fingers at anybody whatsoever, although I am. One of the worst, we give people financial opportunity and recognition to continue to do things after they've done some bad things. One of the worst leadership examples that I have is what Urban Meyer did after the Cincinnati-Jacksonville game in Cincinnati, when he did not fly home with the team.
Yeah.
Your team just almost beat one of the best teams in the NFL at their place on a national game, you know, where everybody's watching, and you send him home alone? What he did after, that's between him and his wife, you know, and everything else. It was I would have had to let the man go when he did not fly home with the team. You know, and I don't know how you tell a young person that has not grown up in any privilege in his life that that's fair. That man gets to go back on Fox and talk about football, and he shouldn't be, you know? You know, he shouldn't be sitting there critiquing young men. How do you handle that?
The world is unfair. And I think you shared something where I try to encourage, and I try to live by this too, because the world is unfair, and people do things and get away with it. But you have to determine in yourself, how can I control what I can control? Because if you get consumed with the reality of what happened, I mean, it's a sad thing. You know, that should not be the case. But if you get consumed in that, you will miss the opportunities right in front of you to elevate your life, to change your generation, to change your family dynamic. And so for me, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to give my all to that. I'm going to lift my voice to the things I believe it's wrong, and have courage and grit. But at the same time, I'm going to give my all to the moments and the opportunities that are in front of me. And if I do that, life has shown thus far, 30 years old, that good things come when you focus on what you can control and leave the rest up to, for me, in my faith, to God. Knowing he will reconcile the differences.
In your 30-second elevator speech, promote your company here for 30 seconds. Tell people what they can do and what you would like them to do to support your group.
Absolutely. So Made for More, as I shared earlier, it's a nonprofit organization that seeks to serve young men in East Gainesville, and also we serve as a spiritual resource to athletes and coaches at the University of Florida. I would love it if you can go onto our website, make a donation, join us as monthly supporters, and maybe you cannot go to the East Gainesville or mentor an athlete, but you can come alongside us in making a difference and being a part of our support team.
Thank you, Joel. Joel Romelus. Joel, this wraps up our program. Would you come back and bring one or two of the young men that you work with and have them on the podcast with us?
Definitely.
Let's set that date. I know your wife is due any moment now. We're waiting for that phone call. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. This is Motivation U, the podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room. I'm Bob Ganzak. See you next week.